Welcome to Chapter 1. In this movie, we'll be working on the file C_Bay Bridge. You can find it in the Chapter 1 folder. Yet before you actually begin to work on this image, I want to evaluate it. And I want to share with you a little tip that I use when working with the Adobe Bridge and when I really want to get creative with my photographs. Well, here's what I do. I select the image, then I press the spacebar key. All of a sudden it minimizes the interface, right? It takes the image to that full screen view mode. Now that's so helpful because if I want to evaluate an image, I really have to get rid of everything else so I can focus in on the task at hand. Now, with this particular photograph, I like it because it feels a little bit more like a fine art photograph. Now, this bridge, the Bay Bridge, is a commuter bridge, right? Yet I cut out all the traffic because I want it to be a little bit more about the idea of the bridge, not the practical daily commute of that bridge, but something more. So what I want to do in this project is look at how we can add some light in order to take that concept or that idea or the fine art nature of this image even further. All right, well, let's press the spacebar key to exit full screen view mode. And let's go ahead and open up this file by double-clicking it. Then press F to go to full screen view mode. Press the spacebar key and click and drag to reposition the image so that you're looking up and you're not looking down. That way you have good posture when you're working on your photographs. All right, well, the first thing that I want to do with this image is I want to add a little bit of light to it. So we're going to go down to our Layers palette, and we're going to click on the background layer and drag it to the new icon, which will then copy that layer. We'll double-click the name of this new layer, and then type out light, give it a new name there. We'll navigate to the filter pull-down menu. We're going to go to render and then lighting effects. Now the lighting effect that we're interested in using is Omni. Now that's a little bit too intense for me, so I'm going to go ahead and lower this. What I'm looking to do is just bring some light into this area of the image, and I'm going to modify these sliders till I find a nice sweet spot. Now keep in mind that I'm not looking to try and create an effect that looks perfect here, because what we'll do is we'll blend this into the background layer. But I think for the most part, that's looking pretty good. I'll click OK to apply that. All right, well, so far so good. Next step is to change our blend mode. So we'll click on the pull-down menu, and we're going to choose soft light. All right, really interesting. Let's take a look at what's happened here. Here's our before and after. It's a pretty subtle change, yet in my opinion, kind of significant, right? It's bringing more attention to this area of the bridge. Now, something that's kind of interesting to try at this stage is to copy this layer in order to duplicate the intensity of that effect. Now, we already saw that we can copy this by clicking and dragging it to the new layer icon. You can also press Command-J on a Mac, Control-J on a PC, and now I'll turn this on and off to look at that before and after. So here's our overall before and then after. Now, this top layer is actually kind of interesting, yet it went a little bit too far. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the opacity slider, drag that down. Just want to add a little bit more of a snap there. All right, so far so good. Well, the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and desaturate this image. So I'm going to click on the option to pull out all the color, and we'll go to our black and white adjustment layer. Now, a lot of times what I like to do when I'm getting creative with black and white conversions is try some of the different default settings. For example, I'll try the blue filter. Now, I like that. I like how it darkened the bridge a bit. Now, of course, you always want to go in and modify your sliders just a touch here to get the exact black and white conversion that you like. So I'm just going to modify these sliders a bit. Okay, well, I think that looks pretty nice. Well, now that I've pulled all the color out, I want to add some of my own color back to this image. So I'll go back to my Adjustments panel by clicking on the arrow, and I'm going to go to Curves. In the Curves panel, I'm going to go into my red channel. I'm going to add quite a bit of red to this image. I'm going to go to that blue-yellow channel. You remember if you click and drag up towards the word blue there, it becomes blue. If you click and drag down, it adds a complementary color, in this case, yellow. I'll go to the green-magenta channel and add a little bit of magenta, and go back to the red cyan channel there, and I'm just going to bring this down. Now, it's not actually called the red cyan channel. It's called the red channel, yet I like to think of it as red cyan because those are the two different colors you can add. Here I can add cyan or I can add red. All right, well, at this juncture, the color is just overpowering, right? But that's okay because I'm going to blend this back into the image. So I'll go to my blending mode, and I'm going to choose good old-fashioned soft light. All right, that's what we're talking about, right? So here's our before, and then there's our after with that really interesting color. And again, what I'm looking to do is just create a little bit more of a monochromatic feel, yet I want some of those deep sepia tones as well. All right, well, so far so good. We're making some good progress with this image. I'm going to double-click the tab on the Adjustments panel to close it. Then I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to click on the new layer icon, and I'm going to name this new layer Corners. What I'm looking to do here is just to darken the corners. So I'm going to go ahead and burn down those corners. And I'm going to do that by filling this layer with a color and then changing the blend mode. So I'll navigate to my Edit pull-down menu and choose Fill, and then I'm going to choose from the Content pull-down menu, Black. So I'll fill that layer with black. Perfect. Take this down to a blend mode of soft light. Well, now that we can see it's darkening out the overall image, I want to mask some of that out. So I'll click on the Add Layer Mask icon. All right, so far so good. Press the B key to select your brush tool. Make your brush bigger. And you can do that by pressing the right bracket key. You also want to have a pretty soft brush. So if you go up to your brush menu, take the hardness all the way down. All right, perfect. And here what we're going to do is just paint with black in the middle of the image. We're just looking to limit that darkening effect just to the outer edge of the frame. That looks really nice, just keeping the eye in the center of the frame. All right, well, so far so good. I think there's just one more step with this photograph. The next step is going to be to click on the adjustment layer icon and this time go to color balance. Now with color balance, we're going to add some color to our midtones, and what I want to do is just make this a little bit more golden. Felt like the color was just a little bit too reddish there. Add a little bit of that golden, nice yellow effect. Double click the adjustments tab so we can see our before and after by clicking on this icon. Really nice. Now down here in our curves layer where we added that color, I'm feeling that that's just a little bit too intense, so I'll click on that and lower the opacity. All right, I like that. Color balance layer, let's take a look at our before and after. That looks really nice, although I need to modify it a bit. So a couple ways you can do that. One is just double click the icon there for color balance. It'll open up the adjustments panel right above, and here you can swing these options one way or the other. And I'm just going to go ahead and modify those a little bit further. Go into my highlights, bring a little bit more yellow there, and the shadows as well. I'm going to bring a little bit of yellow and a little bit red into those shadows. And again, I'm just having some fun with color. Here's our before and after with that adjustment layer. All right, well, we've taken this image to a whole new place. And in addition, I hope you've picked up some shortcuts along the way. Let's go ahead and walk through the progress. So I'll turn off the eye icons here and all the other layers by holding on the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and clicking on the eye icon for the background layer. Here's our original file. We added some light to the center of the image. We duplicated that layer, added a little bit more, converted to black and white, then brought in our own color, a little bit more muted tone here, and then darkened those corners and then brought in some of that golden light. And we have a pretty interesting image, the overall before and then after. And again, what we did here is we slowly built up that effect. Isn't that really interesting? And one of the things that you have to keep in mind is while we use this effect for a bridge, you can use this technique on a wide range of images. It's actually really fascinating. You can redirect how the viewer actually looks at your photographs by using that filter, render lighting effects. It's a really interesting filter. And the trick with using that filter is be sure to use some blending. And keep in mind that while we applied this particular filter with this sepia tone effect, you can also apply it to color images as well.